And welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known throughout the United States. For the last 30 years, can you believe it, I'm a senior as well now. As the Money Lady, and my commitment to all of you, my faithful viewers over the years, is to provide you with cutting-edge information, introduce you to people and resources that can help your family as you try to navigate these turbulent financial times. So much is going on today. It's enough to spin your head. For starters, 10,000 people a day are officially retiring from the workforce. This is the largest shift in U.S. history as America deals with the realities of aging. We're living longer, we're getting older, and to be blunt, as Betty Davis said it so well, getting old ain't for sissies. That's what she said. And I have to agree. My guest today is a specialist in this area. She is executive director with Golden Heart Senior Care with offices in Dayton and Cincinnati, Ohio. And she's going to talk about what they do, what makes them unique and different, because there are other companies that do provide this, and why you need to consider home assistance if you or your family member are going through some things that you hadn't anticipated. Life comes at us fast. It's the truth. And you certainly want to make sure that you are prepared. The consequences can be positive or negative depending upon how you address it. So without a long conversation, I'm going to get right into this interview with Andrea Noe. And again, encourage you to sit down, take notes wherever you're watching this show. And again, just be aware that this is a powerful, powerful shift in this country. America is aging. Okay, people are not able to do the things they did when they were younger. But there is help and there is hope, and that's why I have her today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Michelle.
I appreciate your willingness to come and to talk about this very challenging area. Tell my viewers a little bit about yourself and your background. You look at the camera.
Well, I have been in the senior industry for the last, over 20 years in different areas, from nursing facilities to assisted livings, the hospital atmosphere, and I have settled in home health care because of what I have heard from so many people and what I have not heard. I have never heard someone say to me, when I get older, I want to go to a nursing home. So I have made it my goal to be able to keep people in their homes for as long as possible.
I think that's very important, to keep people in their homes as long as possible. Given your extensive background working with seniors, what, in your opinion, is the most notable shift in terms of that group?
We're seeing people who are able to stay home longer with more services put in place. People are staying home longer than they ever have. There are more people at home now than ever before, and as people are living longer, they're able to stay at home. People used to go to a nursing home when they got old. That's what they did. When they got too old to take care of themselves, they went to a nursing home. And now there are so many options available for them. A nursing home, I have seen a little bit of a shift where nursing homes now handle more of an acute care patient, almost like a step down from a hospital.
Okay. That would make sense because they're fully staffed, 24-hour-a-day care.
They do rehabilitation after a hospital stay and can send people back home after they've gone to a nursing facility. A lot of them are rehab centers instead of just a nursing home. People used to believe that a nursing home was someplace that people went to die. That's not necessarily the case. A lot of times people will go to a nursing and rehab center, get rehab, get therapy, and then go back home, and with services put in place at home, are able to stay home for many, many years to come.
That is absolutely good news, because I know they don't refer to nursing homes in our industry, they call them skilled care.
Skilled care centers.
Skilled care centers. But again, the primary concern I think that many people have as they age is this the end of the road for me?
Exactly. And in history, many, many years ago, the nursing home, the skilled community was the end of the road. It doesn't have to be the end of the road. And even if that is someone's final stop, it can be a very pleasant place to be. It's not somewhere where people go to be forgotten anymore. We want to have people have companions in place and have a good quality of care. A nursing home, rehab facility, we've changed the name in the industry as we have changed what is required of nursing staff. Skilled facilities simply means that the people that are there have skills that they have been educated on, and that an illness or the physical condition of the patient there requires someone with a skill to be able to provide care for them.
Oh, I understand now.
Okay.
I just assumed that it was just a higher level of care, but the skill means that they do have the requisite training.
Correct.
To assist people at that point in their life.
Correct. And in order for someone to be skilled and for Medicare to cover it, they have to meet certain criteria, which would be they have certain diagnosis, or they require wound care that needs monitoring by a skilled professional, or they may need physical or occupational or speech therapy, all things that require skilled professionals to provide care for.
Now, let's, just for the purpose of our viewers, because I've been very matter of fact over the years that Medicare is not Medicaid, because
that is correct.
Many seniors get that confused.
The difference between Medicare and Medicaid, there are several differences, but primarily, to break it down, Medicare is federally funded.
Okay.
Okay. You're not eligible for Medicare until you're 62 and a half.
65.
65,
yeah.
But once you're 64 and a half, you apply for Medicare, and at 62 and a half, you want to start looking into the Medicare.
Okay. It's the health care plan.
Right.
Okay.
Medicaid is state funded versus the federally funded Medicare. There is not an age requirement for Medicaid. It is a financial requirement. Each person that applies for Medicaid is given a caseworker that reviews the Medicaid case. And they go through all of the finances to make sure that financially they meet the requirements for Medicaid.
Which are pretty stringent.
They are pretty stringent, and I remember 20 plus years ago saying, oh, that is so terrible, they take everything away.
They do.
And that is true, but I looked at it a little bit differently when I thought about the amount of money that it costs to receive care.
Yes.
And what Medicaid actually looks at is, just for example, if your care costs $10,000 a month and you only make $2,000 a month, Medicaid expects you to put your $2,000 a month towards the care that they're paying for. So you're paying all of your $2,000, but Medicaid is paying the other $8,000. So really what they're asking you to do is just put in what you have, and they will cover the rest.
And I think, again, in all fairness, it is a taxpayer-funded program.
Correct.
And it's designed for the poor, basically.
It is designed for the poor. It is designed for people that maybe have worked throughout their lives. They have saved money for their future, for their care, and they were sicker longer than they planned to be.
Right.
So that money that they had saved, they exhausted those funds. And then they went ahead and applied for Medicaid, were approved by the state. The state said, okay, you paid your dues, you paid all of the money that you saved, and now that you have spent your money, we're going to pick up the rest of that.
Okay. I think that's fair.
I believe that it's fair too. It is
I think it's fair,
heartbreaking to
but
me,
it's fair.
but it's fair.
Yeah, I think it's very heartbreaking as well, because so many people have spent their entire lives accumulating resources for their retirement years, only to find themselves in a situation where they have no money, or their resources are limited, or they have a illness for which they cannot get any better.
Right.
I mean, that to me is one of the more discomforting aspects of aging, that you can have an illness that you don't get any better.
That is correct. There are illnesses that you just don't get better.
Goodness gracious.
But many illnesses can be managed.
Okay. I like that term. Can be managed.
That's where we step in. That's where Golden Heart steps in. And even though you have an illness and you're not going to get better, we want to help you manage that illness. We are a non-medical company.
What does that mean?
It means that we do not provide any medical care.
Okay.
Okay? But we do have someone come in, and if there's someone at home that's having problems bathing, they're having problems remembering to take their medication, we can remind them to do that.
Okay.
If they're no longer able to drive, who's going to take them to the store? Who's going to take them to their appointments? We do all of that for them.
Really? That is very nice.
A lot of times someone who is managing a long-term or chronic illness will experience anxiety and depression. Loss of independence a lot of times will cause depression. People tend to isolate when they're no longer able to go out on their own. They don't tend to reach out to people and ask them to take them places. If we have a caregiver in place in the home, it can be just for a few hours a day, a couple times a week, or it can be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We customize depending on what a person's situation is. But having someone in the home to talk to make sure that they're doing okay helps with the depression, with the isolation. We prepare meals so that people don't lose as much weight. We see that a lot with seniors that are at home by themselves, that they, eating is such a social event as well as something that we need to nourish us. It's social. And people tend not to eat the foods that they should and not eat as much as they should when they're doing that by themselves. So to have...
that's something, that's something to really think about, is the isolation that comes from the loss of a spouse.
Yes.
Or just being single for a long, long time, and all of a sudden you realize that you don't have any friends anymore, and that your family hasn't been around often, and that you're by yourself a lot. So that's something that you all encounter as well?
We encounter that a lot, and most seniors, I hear it over and over, they don't want to bother anyone. They don't want to reach out because I hear, well, my daughter is busy and my son is at work and they have the grandchildren. even within my own family, I want to help do things, and they, oh no, I can manage, I can do that. Please let me help. If you
Do you
won't
think
let
it's a fear of if they reach out to the family just to even talk, and not dismissing the power of the telephone, but there's something about physical presence that helps as well. Would you agree?
Oh, physical presence makes a huge difference. There's so much that we can see when we see someone in person. You can hear someone's voice on the telephone, and they can tell you whatever you want to hear or whatever they think you want to hear. But when you see someone in person, you can tell by the way they look. How is their hygiene? Do their clothes match? Do they look like they have been bathing? Have they been keeping up appearances? Look at their home. Are they still able to do their yard work, or do they need help with that? You know, are they able to take their trash out by themselves? Do they need somebody to come over and assist with that? We have winter coming on. Are they going to be able to have snow removal? Those are things that we can set up for them to get those things taken care of and not have it be a bother. And what we see is that people, instead of reaching out and getting those things taken care of, they isolate themselves and just don't go outside to take care of anything, especially with winter coming on. It just becomes overwhelming.
Well, I would say, and I'm not infirm, but winter is overwhelming anyway.
It most certainly is.
And you look out the window and don't say snow and don't say cold, because Michelle's not going anywhere.
No.
I mean, it's like, I don't think I want to do that today.
Exactly.
So I can only imagine as they get older, that would be more and more of a challenge. But your agency makes those calls for them and gets all that set up for them?
Yes, we will do just about anything. Our caregivers, we do housekeeping, we make meals, we do just about everything except shovel that bad white stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But we can make calls for that. Now, let me ask you this, Michelle. If you're at home and it's trash day and you haven't taken the trash out, and you look outside and you see that we have had some overnight stuff, what are you going to do? You can't shovel. What are you going to do?
I'm going to be honest with you. If I could not shovel, I would have to have someone who shovels to get my stuff out.
Okay. So who would you call for that?
Well, typically, just as a practical matter, I have a service that does that.
Okay.
Because I do not like snow.
Okay.
I really don't. And why? Because snow, there's ice many times associated with snow, and what I don't want is to fall. I'm totally and completely uncomfortable with the statistics on falling.
Okay.
And so that's just me.
We do want to talk about the falling also, but what I'm trying to get at here is you have a service that you call.
Yes.
But if you were unaware of what service you should call, or you didn't have a neighbor that could help you, or your children might be out of town, or they weren't able to get over, or you didn't have children, looking through a phone book for some of our seniors that may not have internet access, or even if they do have internet access, trying to make phone calls in a busy season. People may not answer.
Right.
We may have 70% of our seniors have hearing loss.
Oh my gosh.
If they cannot hear on the phone who they're calling, they have been told, be aware of predators that are coming over to steal your money. Trying to make phone calls for something like this.
Oh my God.
Is it a very stressful situation?
That would be, to me, an impossible situation.
Exactly.
And I think I'd just throw up my hands and say, another day.
So you're just not going to go out. And then what happens with that snow in the driveway when it starts to warm up a little bit is it melts a little. And then it cools down again and that becomes ice.
Yeah.
And then you can't go out because there's ice. You'll slip and you'll fall. So we're looking at a repeated pattern of someone being stuck in their home all winter long.
My goodness.
If they haven't had someone that's able to help them coordinate these things.
You know what, Andrea, I'm glad I had you on. This is good.
Well,
this is good. No, this is good because these are things that you don't normally think about if people are living in homes. Now, if they're in apartments, it might be a little different because you have a manager, but when they're living independently in a home, the home can actually become a prison.
It can. For a female whose husband may have always taken care of that and she's recently lost her husband and she's never had to do that before and she just simply doesn't know how. Or for a gentleman who has taken care of that his whole life and physically he's no longer able to, and to call his son to do that may make him feel embarrassed because he would have to admit that his body's no longer able to do what his mind wants it to do. And I hear that a lot.
Well, in fact, I'm experiencing that right now. My stepfather, who was a very robust and awesome man, cut my grass, kept his lawn, the most beautiful lawn in the neighborhood. And his back injury has progressed to a point where he cannot do that. And he struggled. I watched him. And now his son cuts the grass. But my first line of thinking some years ago is, why are you doing this? Just have somebody else to do it.
And that would seem to you or I, it would seem logical just to have someone else do it.
Right.
But if that was something that he had done all of his life,
correct,
that's another sense of a loss of independence to him.
My goodness.
So there are a lot of different things that we might not necessarily think about when we're saying just let us help. And sometimes it's easier to have a caregiver come in for a few hours and do some of these things than it is to ask family to do them.
I can see where you're coming from. And that does absolutely make sense because it keeps you from getting involved in the politics of family.
Exactly.
I mean, because family is politics. It is.
It is.
Who's going to do what? And every family member, particularly siblings, respond differently.
Right. And it's kind of ironic, funny, ironic, not funny, haha. There's usually one child in the family that takes responsibility. No matter how many children are in the family, there's usually one that's the leader.
And you know what? You're absolutely correct. I don't know why that is so, but there is one that is typically always going to be there.
And that one will take on more responsibilities than they really are able to do. And the others don't take on as many responsibilities as they are capable of.
So how does one maneuver through that? You just don't. You bring in a caregiver and let them do it.
Again, it's family politics.
Yes.
And letting that child that's in charge know it's okay for them to ask for help as well, and bring someone in and say, okay, I need some help with mom. I need some help with dad.
Now, how does that play out when you're dealing with Alzheimer in a couple where one has it and the other does not, and it's just overwhelming?
It is extremely overwhelming for many reasons. Alzheimer's disease, I believe, is the most brutal of of the diseases that we see, especially with couples, because one of the couple is going to try to take care of the other. In most cases that I see, the other has been covering for the one that is ill for a long time. The little forgetful episodes, they've been covering up, and they are many times incontinent, so they've just been washing the sheets and taking care of things, and kind of covering the behavioral changes for the family and friends so that people don't know. By the time anyone else knows that the loved one needs help, the caregiver's already pretty exhausted. By that time, they feel like they've lost their best friend, not just once, but over and over and over. So the caregiver in that situation, a lot of times will end up sick themselves.
I've read that, the statistics on caregivers, and just exhausted, mentally, emotionally, physically. They just feel, and if they're elderly themselves, how does that play out?
Well, we get a lot of calls because we need help at home because mom has always taken care of dad, and now mom's in the hospital and dad has Alzheimer's, and mom's in the hospital so she can't take care of dad, so we need somebody to take care of dad while mom's in the hospital.
Okay. And now mom's in the hospital for exhaustion or just something medical?
It could be something medical. It could be exhaustion. It could be something medical that should have or could have been addressed but wasn't, because she wasn't taking care of herself because she was taking care of dad.
Him. Yeah.
So there's a lot going on, and don't misinterpret. I want people to take care of their family.
I understand, but
family
sometimes
comes first.
But sometimes,
But
Andrea,
wouldn't it be lovely if a caregiver could come in and take care of all of those things for dad that mom does, so that mom and dad could sit down and have a meal together and enjoy each other?
Yes, yes.
Instead of mom doing everything for dad? What if a caregiver could come in for 3 hours, 4 hours, and give dad his shower and make sure he has his medicine, and take him on a little walk while mom gets her shower and takes care of herself, and then they can come in and have a nice lunch together that a caregiver prepares for them.
That's beautiful. You all do that?
We do that.
That's beautiful.
That alleviates some of the stress for mom. That gives dad something to do, and then he's not, a lot of times with Alzheimer's dementia patients, they become combative, especially during care. That's very, very difficult for the caregiver.
Okay.
If you take a couple that's been together for many, many years, they've always gotten along, mom and dad get along great, dad has always been very gentle, and now all of a sudden when mom's trying to give him a shower, he's becoming combative.
Okay.
Not only is it emotionally draining for mom, it's physically draining for her too. So if we have someone come in and help with that,
yes,
and then they can enjoy that scenario at the lunch table,
yes,
it takes so much worry and stress off of the caregiver. If you ask them, or the first time you approach them and ask mom, do you want somebody to come in and help with this? 9.5 times out of 10, she's going to say, oh, no, I'll do it. I'll take care of him. It has to be a topic that is revisited frequently. Mom doesn't want someone else to take care of him. She's made that commitment to him to take care of him. But there has to be a time where they're able to have someone come and talk to them and say, okay, look at this scenario and how can things be better for both of you.
You know, the role that you play is pivotal in terms of the emotional health of that family. Because one thing I have learned as I have grown older is that things come fast.
They come very fast.
And the things that you didn't think you would see happen begin to happen around you and to you. And this whole, what you're talking about right now just resonates with me on so many levels, because I have quite a few female friends who are married who are taking care of their spouses for a number of different conditions.
Yes.
Parkinson's, and I had no idea that Parkinson's, oh my
is
God,
very debilitating.
yes.
And there is, for some Parkinson's patients, Parkinson's dementia can come along with
Yes.
that, which makes the care even more challenging.
The combativeness.
Yes.
She needs to take a vacation
Yes.
permanently.
Yes, well, and we provide respite care as well. So if a caregiver needs, say that your friend says, okay, I just need to get away for a week. I need to go on a cruise. I need to get away with the girls for a while. We can schedule to have caregivers come in 24/7 for a week for her to be able to step
Get
away
a
from this
break.
situation and get a break.
Right, because now in the one situation, she's sick.
Yes.
She has stomach problems from stress. I know
Yes.
it's stress related
Yes.
from dealing with him.
And she needs to be able to address her health issues as well. And when does she find time to do that? When she has to care
Taking
for
care
him.
of him. That has been such an enlightenment, because Parkinson's, of course, is a part of the dementia family.
Right.
But I just had no idea the mental component and how exhausting it is to deal with this every single day.
Yes.
It doesn't get better, Andrea.
It doesn't get better, but it can be managed.
It can be managed.
It can be
Okay.
managed, okay? Any of these diseases that are chronic diseases that people have can be managed with help. And people don't want to reach out for help because they feel that they can manage it on their own.
I don't think so.
I think that so many times, Michelle, people get so involved in what they do day to day, and it becomes automatic that they don't realize that they're needing help. And that's when we have to rely on friends and outside family members to really pay attention to our friends and what they're saying and what's going on, and say, hey, you know, there is help for this. There is help available. You're doing too much. You're going to get sick yourself. Let me help you. Let me introduce you to someone that can help you.
Well, let me ask you a question, and that is that how does a person make an objective assessment of the type of company to engage services?
Well, it's very difficult to know what to do. There are so many different,
As
with Medicare and Medicaid, people don't understand the difference between that because it's very confusing. There are skilled agencies that come out to the home that come out and provide therapies, and but they only come out a couple times a week, but they're covered by insurance. So that is wonderful, but they are meant to be short term to get people back up on their feet. And then
Medicare does require that you show improvement,
exactly,
measurable.
Exactly. So we come in, we could come in at any point, but we would be more what they would, in a facility, they would call it custodial care.
Okay.
Where people need care on an ongoing basis. Insurance is not going to cover that unless they have long-term care insurance.
Right.
I talk to people every day and they say, yes, I have insurance for that. They may or may not. Until I look at what they have, I don't know. But I am always happy to help someone if they just give me a call and tell me what the situation is. I will let them know, okay, I'll be happy to come out and sit down with you and do an assessment, talk about your situation, and see what the best situation or what the best plan of action is for you.
Okay.
I would love it if my company could help them, but if I'm not the right company to help them, I'm going to steer them in the right direction of someone that can.
Okay. Have you had occasion to have to do that?
Oh, frequent occasion.
Frequent
Occasion to do that. I do a lot of networking with people that are in my field.
Okay.
In fact, I do that several times a week. But because I want to have resources for my clients.
Got it.
And we have actually a group that I was networking with just the other night. We talked about how doing the right thing by our clients always comes back.
I believe that. Integrity.
Really. And we want to make sure that we're doing right. Anything that can be covered by insurance, I want people to have covered.
Yes, right.
So we're going to do everything that we can to do that.
That is very honorable.
But on the flip side of that, I see a lot of people that have saved for a rainy day.
Okay.
And sometimes they need to realize that it is raining. And they need to have a little bit of help.
Okay.
And we can tailor a program for them based on the number of hours that they have in the home to make things easier for them without draining the bank, so to speak.
So give me an example of some of the things that your agency provides that people don't commonly think of.
Meal preparation.
Okay.
Okay.
So you'll go to the grocery?
We will go to the grocery.
Okay.
We'll go to the grocery. They can either make a list and we'll pick up what they would like, or we can take them with us.
Okay.
If they're able to go to the grocery, we would like them to go. We want to encourage independence. If they're simply not able to go and they say, caregiver, will you pick me up a can of fruit cocktail on your way? Absolutely. Whatever they want, we will either stop and pick up for them, take them to the store, or take them to the store with us.
Okay, so they would be able to get out from there. What are some other things you'll do for them?
We do light housekeeping,
Okay.
which is really nice. A lot of times, as we get older, it becomes very challenging to push the vacuum. It's something that seems...
I don't know if you're older has anything to do with the vacuum. I mean, my God.
But that seems like something that would not be, if you have a small area, just to run the sweeper really quick. For somebody who is young and energetic, perhaps that's just something easy to do. Doing the dishes after a meal instead of having them sit.
Ah, I got it.
We provide companionship. Sometimes it's just simple companionship. You can't play checkers by yourself.
This is true. Okay, this is true. Do you pay bills for them and that type of thing? Do you get involved with that?
We can. We would not be in charge of their money. They would still be in charge of their own money, but if they're having a difficult time writing out a check, we can help them do that. They would sign it, they would log it in their checkbook. We would just be writing the check for them, but we would have no control over their finances. They would have their own control.
I'm going to give you a situation, and that is that there was an individual. She had Alzheimer's, beginning stages. And she wrote checks to every charitable organization that came in the mail. I mean, she wrote large checks. And the caregiver discovered that she was doing this. I'm talking about $10,000 to $12,000 a month out of her bank account to these different organizations. And of course, you know that once you start writing a check, you go on a database or something,
Right.
and then everyone
is contacting you.
And she's like, I'm so popular. All these people want my money. And it got, the caregiver was able to make note of this and tell the family, which was an interesting politic. I won't even get into mom writing checks, but do you all ever have situations like that?
And those are one of the things that we're there for. Our primary goal is to keep our seniors safe. We want them to be able to remain in their home, not because we're trying to force them to be home, but because that's where they want to be. They've been in their home for 50 years, and that's where they want to stay. So we're there to keep them safe in their home. We don't want anyone falling. We don't want anyone being taken advantage of. We want people to thrive in their environment. It may not even always be at home. They might be in an assisted living facility. They might be.
Oh, really? You will work with people in assisted living as well?
If that's where they call home.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
They may be in a rehab facility, and they need a little bit of extra help. They don't. The family doesn't want them to be in the room by themselves. So, where they may have some short-term behavioral issues from anesthesia or something like that, and they're unaware of their safety limitations. So, in that case, we would have one of our caregivers in the room with them until there's an improvement or until they transfer somewhere else. So there are all kinds of places that we are in.
Interesting. So you will not only deal with individuals in their private residences, but you'll also include it in that definition or assisted living.
Wherever they consider to be home.
Wherever they consider to be home. Now you would not, or would you be involved with skilled care going into those type of facilities?
We can be. If they're receiving skilled care in a facility and someone needs extra care, skilled facilities are wonderful, and they provide the 24-hour care that a lot of times patient needs. But if hospitals are not keeping patients as long as they used to,
they surely are not.
And if a patient needs to be transferred to a skilled nursing facility and the family's not quite comfortable with them leaving the hospital, we will provide a caregiver to go be with them
in that facility.
In that facility.
That is amazing.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely amazing. The reason I say that is because many of these quote skilled facilities tend to be a little short-staffed. And I've had situations where people said that their loved one couldn't get to the bathroom on time.
Right.
And how humiliating that was.
It
And
is.
I'm just thinking, is that a situation where an outside caregiver could be there to make sure that they got to the bathroom?
We sure can. And what happens a lot of times in the skilled facilities is they're staffed appropriately if everything goes well.
Okay.
But then there's a situation in a room that takes more than one aide. Someone has had an accident, something has happened, and it requires more than one aide or caregiver to go into the room to tend to that patient. In the meantime, someone down the hall has their light on to go to the restroom.
I got it.
While they're all with this emergency with this emergency patient, someone is sitting there to go to the restroom and they have an accident because they don't make it in time. What you're hearing about is is the unfortunate person that had to go to the bathroom at the time that there was a situation going on. Well, if that happens to be my parent that has to, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So knowing that those things happen, it's very, very beneficial to have someone there with
Well, I'm thinking
your family
of an
member.
actual case, because I've been in this industry for 30 years, and I've got a lot of cases, but where the person put the buzz to get help, and no help came, so they tried to get to the bathroom on their own and fell and hurt themselves. And the response was, you shouldn't have gone to the bathroom.
Right.
You should have waited. And of course, the family's like, excuse me?
Yeah.
How are you going to wait when you gotta go?
Yeah.
And so there was a situation which did result in a lawsuit because of the fall.
Right. And I have heard of that situation on more than one occasion.
Okay.
And I hate to say, well, the aides should have been there because they probably work harder than any other group of people that I work with. So I'm sure that they were working with someone else, or for goodness sakes, they are allowed to take a break. They work hard, and having given a client or a patient, I'm sorry, I call them clients. They're clients to me because I'm non-medical, but they're patients in a facility or a resident in a facility. They may have said, okay, now don't get up, and they have an alarm on their chair, but they weren't there to hear the alarm. And it certainly it factors into the safety of the patient that got up and fell. And they, of course, are the ones,
They're there.
They're the ones that I feel for because they got hurt and their safety should have been provided for.
And sometimes, in defense of the facility, that is hard work.
It is very hard work, and I see both sides
I
of
do
that
see both sides.
situation.
The family being upset because they felt that mom or dad was not attended to and had bruises from the fall, not from them hitting them, but from them actually falling. And then the other side, which is these individuals that are trying to provide help and not necessarily the best paid,
Right.
and in a high stress, high maintenance environment. There has to be an answer here. Is the answer maybe not even going that route and just letting them stay in their home and just paying for people like yourself?
The answer in that situation is to have them go ahead and go to the facility because there are going to be skilled needs that they have.
Okay.
They're going to need to have their therapies, and they're going to get more therapy in a facility than they would at home.
Okay.
They probably have skilled nursing needs as well, especially if they've been recently hospitalized.
Okay.
But they can add our services in. They can call Golden Heart or another agency and say, Mom is in the skilled nursing facility and she's going to be there for probably 20 days.
Okay.
I can be there from 10 to 2, but I want somebody there from 2 to 6 until my brother gets there at 6 o'clock, and we will work with the family on whatever hours the family wants to be there, if they're looking at a cost factor,
Right.
so that we can break that cost down a little bit. Or they may say, I want somebody there 24/7 because when I go to visit, I just want to visit, but I want somebody there in the room with them so that they don't fall. So if there is the option of being able to add a companion in while someone is in the skilled nursing facility, I think that is the best way to go.
Well, from what I'm hearing you say, there are so many things that you all provide for this individual. Now, you brought up a question, and I always ask the question, is this affordable?
Well, Yes and no. It
Okay.
depends on what your financial situation is.
Okay.
Our rates range from $20 to $22 an hour.
Okay.
Okay, so it depends on what affordable is in your situation.
Okay.
People pay a housekeeper more than what they would pay
Yeah, they do.
for our caregivers on an hourly rate. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, yes, we are very affordable. But if you're looking at someone who has already exhausted all resources and is on Medicaid already and is in a facility under Medicaid, then probably not.
Right.
Okay, unless the family has some private resources and they say, okay, mom is here in this nursing facility under Medicaid, but we want her to have somebody with her in the hours that we can't be here, and we're willing to pay that. Now,
And I think, not to interrupt
That's
you,
okay.
but I think that could work. In many situations with Medicaid, they're only allowed $50 a month, period. I think that just changed. But the need is still there. And again, it's institutional care, but the need is still there. And if the family can at least know that a couple of days a week, they can bring in a person to make sure that mom is eating properly and doing the things that should be done. Because I'm going to be candid, I was in a situation where a person that really couldn't eat tray was put in front of them, and they had no means to eat. I don't even think it's had anything to do with them being hungry or not. They weren't able to eat. And the individual that served the tray didn't know that. And so they left it there. And so I was there for someone else, and I wound up feeding this person because I said she has to eat.
Right.
But she had no way to eat. And when the lady came back, I said, "Are you aware this woman cannot eat?" And she said, "Well, it's not on a chart." And I said, "But by observation, because I'm not a practitioner, by observation, it was fairly evident to me that she was not going to eat her dinner without help." So are those some of the things that you all can do?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Making sure that mom can get her food or dad can eat his food. That's important.
It's very important. You can't thrive without the proper nutrition.
Absolutely.
And again, I talk about isolation a lot and the importance of having someone with you to eat. They serve the meals a lot of times on a tray. On these trays, the milk cartons can't be opened by themselves. The straw wrappers can't. You can't get those off. So even if they are able to physically lift the fork to their mouth to eat, they may not be able to open the things to be able to get the food out.
I can't open up a milk carton without making a mess.
Exactly.
I mean, it's too many moving parts.
Right. And then if they have managed to get that open and they have spilled it all over themselves, then they're a mess.
Yes.
So those are things that our caregivers can help take care of.
Well, in the interest of time, because believe it or not, time is up.
Already?
I told you. I told you. I need for you to just give me a pitch about your company and give me a phone number.
Okay. Golden Heart Senior Care.
You can talk to the audience.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hello, audience. Golden Heart Senior Care would love to be able to come out and provide an assessment for you or your loved one.
Any charge for that?
Free assessment.
Free assessment.
You get me. I'll come out and see you, see what your needs are, see how I can help you put something in place for you or your family member. just give me a call. I'm at 513-222-4024. That's 4024. I would love to hear from you and see what I can do to help you.
I need you to give that number again and slowly.
Okay. I'm at 513-222-4024. That is my cell number. I'm happy to come out and see anyone and talk about your situation and what we can do to make things easier for you.
That's awesome. I'm delighted that you gave me time to talk about this industry. And your knowledge, your care and compassion is beautiful. It is beautiful. And I just want to share that with you. It is beautiful. To those of you that are viewing today, I hope you've gotten some good information. I know I have, and I know you probably have as well. I endorse her, and I endorse Golden Heart Senior Care as one of those companies that is there for you and your family in a difficult time. So many of you are struggling trying to keep it all going on. And I'm telling you, sometimes you just can't. Do what you need to do. Get the help that you need. On today's segment of The Power of Money, as always, I'm Michelle Graves, and I send you love. I give you peace. And I leave you with joy. God bless you. I'll see you next time. You take care. Bye-bye.